Once upon a time, there was a guy who was looking for something that was called a touchstone. And a touchstone was a very special magical stone, and it would provide you whatever you wanted. And so he set off to find it, and he knew it was on this beach somewhere, but the beach was completely covered in all these beautiful round stones that looked exactly the same. But you had to feel it. When you touched the stone, it was warm. It was actually warm to the touch, and so you knew that was a different one. And he started working through this huge beach, and he would set off day after day and go through. And as he touched one that was cold, he would just throw it out to the ocean. And day after day, hour after hour, month after month, year after year, he would pick up the stone, check it, and throw it if it was cold. Well, one day it happened. One day he picked up a stone and it was warm, but he was so used to the habit, he'd forgotten what he was there for, and instead he took the touchstone and threw it away. So with your inbox, it's the same thing. The opportunities are coming to you that you're intending, but you're not able to receive them because things aren't prepared in a way that allow you to be present to them, that allow you to just stop and look at what was my intention as opposed to the automatic hovering over the delete button. All right? And it might mean that you have to unsubscribe from some newsletters or that kind of thing if it means giving you more clarity. But create a vacuum in your life. Clean up and organize the basics in your life so that you can be prepared to receive. That's the kind of taking orderly action that creates a vacuum that allows more in your life. Clean up your closet. Clean your fridge, clean your car. You will feel more energy coming into you because you will not have this time and this area around you that's not serving you for clarity and for openness and for receiving. Now, the second action, taking action, the second possible way of looking at things is the intuitive actions. And sometimes they are things not to do, and sometimes they're things to do. The intuitive actions, I find they generally come in a moment, and they're not necessarily, it's not logical. They come from a place that's not linear, it's just out of the blue. And it's just that an idea pops into my head. And quite often it'll be like around water, whether I'm in a swimming pool, whether I'm walking in the rain, or whether I'm in the shower or the bath. It's like there's something around water. I don't have an explanation for that, but I notice that in my own life and my own experience, that it's around water. And you hear other people talking about their inspirations, and they're in the shower, and they go ping, and they got an idea. Now the point is, follow them through immediately. So when you get an inspired action, you don't come and, write it down on the to-do list. You go and pick up the phone, or you begin on it, or you investigate it as humanly possible. Obviously, dry yourself off from the shower before you sit down, but make it the next thing that you do. And the difference between inspired action and like an intuitive action and resistance, so if there's something you don't want to do, sometimes it's intuition saying, you've been down this road before, it's not serving you, it's time to do something different. But it might also be that you just have a resistance from a subconscious belief. And so your actions are procrastination and avoiding things. That's just resistance, and you have to look at what the limiting belief is and see whether it's aligned with your intention. But the true intuition, the true intuitive actions come out of the blue, and they're sparkly. And you follow them through, and things start to happen really quickly, really quickly. And the third type of taking action is the assumptive action. This is where most people don't even get it. It just never occurred to them. It's not the way that we think. It's not the way that we're trained to think. But assumptive actions are putting yourself in a situation where you have an intention for something, and your circumstances are not there yet, but what if they were? So really, you look at it as if your intention was showing up tomorrow, what would you be doing? And then you take assumptive actions, and that's the receiving actions. So it changes everything because you get to see how you've been stalling your good. And, of course, we're talking about speed manifesting. We want things to come as quickly as possible, making sure we're not the ones that are in the way. But you You move things out of the way quickly when you go, well, if it were coming tomorrow, I'd do these 5 things. So, for instance, if you were taking delivery of a car and you don't have any insurance on it, that's one of the first things you have to do. What about the registration of the car? What about where are you going to park it? So it's like paying attention to the actions that are the details in life for receiving it. Because a lot of people just say, well, it's not here yet, so I'm not going to bother. And the voice that's inside you that actually says that is the voice that creates it. So literally creates the same circumstances continuing. And I'll say it again. Well, it's not here yet. And then tomorrow, well, it's not here yet. And then the next day, well, it's not here yet. So you're actually recreating a condition that says it's not here yet and pushing it further and further away. Why? Because you're not taking action about it. This is not airy-fairy stuff. This is, hey, get busy. Create a sense of urgency in the now, as if it's happening now, and get busy. You don't have to be attached to it. Just get busy and get ready to receive. And you will be astounded. You'll be absolutely astounded. That example of the car is exactly what happened to me with a new car that I was getting. I had the financing arranged. We were going to buy it at an auction, and it wasn't coming. It wasn't coming. The money was there. Everything was set up, and it wasn't coming. It wasn't coming. There was no car that we wanted. And then I realized that there were some assumptive actions that I could take, and one of them was, we had 2 cars at the time. Well, if we sell one of them, and my husband said, no, I'm not selling the other car until we have it. And I'm saying, but what if it was here? Then we'd have to make room for it. Okay, well, we'll clear out the garage, because we were using our whole garage for storage. Well, we'll clear out half the garage, because if we have 3 cars for a little while, then we do that. And we wrote a list. We actually didn't even do some of the things. So, for instance, we had to find out how to sell one of our cars because we were in a new country and they have new regulations that we didn't know about, how to actually go through the process of changing over registrations and things. But instead of carrying it out, what we did was we wrote down all the things we needed to. That was enough. That was enough. I called the insurance company. That was one of the things that was on the list. And I thought, yes, I'll call the insurance company. I told them the make, the model, how much we paid for it, even though I hadn't bought it yet and I didn't know the answer to that. And got a quote, and I said, now what do I do when the car comes? And they said, just give us a quick call and we'll activate it. The car showed up within a day or 2. It showed up. It was just this huge energy shift. Why? Because I was acting as if. I took assumptive actions to receive. The creative process, if you really want to boil it down, is you ask, the universe delivers, you receive. That's it. Everything else around that is somewhere in those 3 parts, except that you don't do the second part. The second part is all done for you by everyone around you and by your intention out of it. But you have to ask, and you have to know what you want. So you have to start with asking, and you have to be willing to, you have to be feeling like you're worthy enough that you can ask. You have to be feeling like you actually can decide what you want, that it's okay. And then the delivery happens, but then you have to be willing to say, I deserve it. I can receive this. You have to be willing to say yes to people who want to give you things. You have to be willing to choose rather than be in something comes to you and you're afraid to make a decision. So ask, it gets delivered, you receive. And so as part of that, the assumptive actions are receiving. As a matter of fact, all your actions are receiving. They're also asking. They're asking and receiving as well, but the asking is critical in getting started, and then the receiving is critical in getting ready to make space for it to come, to make sure that you're. So I don't want to throw these success principles of the 80s and 90s out, because I think they work for people. Why do they work? Because they've got their beliefs in order, because they don't have the limiting beliefs that some people do, and because it's worked for them before. They've got once you get successful at something, your success builds. Why? Because your subconscious is in alignment with that success. When your subconscious is not, then you're struggling. You're creating something new that it hasn't been there before, and it doesn't want to go there. Your subconscious is a recording of the past, and it only wants to stay doing what it's done. And so you need to look at your subconscious beliefs and see where they're limiting you.